spellbook from your deck to your hand by this. Oh, hi, by the way, hi Yu-Gi-Oh players, it's the RJB0. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual.
So I'm the guy who plays Salvo.
Also known as the extremely Italian man, also known as Andrew Cusinelli. I finally actually managed to invite him onto the show. So today, like I promised on Sunday, kind of promised, I am going to be talking about why my anti-spell fragrance was such an important choice for getting my national invite to regionals. However, what I'm going to do instead is kind of do that in a rather roundabout fashion by way of doing a video about how to kill Prophecy. I think this is going to go on to be a series of videos all week about taking down the various top-tier techs of the format. So I suppose I should probably start with that anti-spell fragrance. I've been kind of bragging about how important this was on Saturday. So one thing I realized about this card, actually, for anybody who hasn't seen this card in their life, it's kind of understandable unless you were around during that time when Dark Smorg was like the most popular thing ever.
I saw it a few times.
It's basically, players must set their spell cards before they can activate them, but then they can't activate set cards until their next turn. Now the thing I realized on Saturday is it doesn't just say until the next turn, it says their next turn. So I played this against Prophecy, and basically, if they revealed like Wisdom in their hand, then it was like, okay, then I can bottomless their Priestess or Dark Hole their Priestess next turn, and they couldn't do shit about it because they couldn't activate that Wisdom until next turn. So this card was incredibly important in killing Priestess, but also it killed the Master and Secret loop, because they could only activate one of them per turn if they started off with it, so Magician was basically useless, and like opening with this and then Mind Crush and Macro was pretty crazy. So let's get on to those two. So Macro being kind of the killer card of the format.
For now.
For now. Was actually integral in my ability to kill Prophecy on Saturday. Pretty much, they can't get anything in their graveyard, which means Priestess is useless, Fate is useless,
yeah.
And Tower is useless. So they also can't use Life because they can't get a monster in the graveyard. It's a pretty sweet card. And then Mind Crush, I've talked about Mind Crush so many times. We actually saw a guy on Saturday, I don't know if you were there, when Marco was playing Fire Fist against Nick's Prophecy, and Nick revealed 3 for Priestess, and Marco hit him with a Mind Crush, and he had 2 Priestesses in hand. So I don't know, what else is there?
This is about all I can do against Prophecy here.
There's Naturia Beast, that's a good one.
Naturia Beast. It's useful to hit their hand whenever possible, if possible. Not always the easiest thing to do. If they are silly enough to leave something on the field that you can blow up with a Crimson Blader, that can sort of stop them early. Later, not as useful, but it can run over things, but they're usually protected anyway, so.
Yeah, and usually they don't summon the Priestess unless,
they're going for stuff.
Yeah, let's see, Curse of Darkness was one that I talked to Kyle about on Friday. So what Curse of Darkness is that when a player activates a spell card, upon the activation, they lose 1,000 life points.
Nice.
Which is even crazier because it stacks.
Like,
so if you activate 2 of them, it's like they're paying 2,000 life points to activate each spell.
It's like
so it's like, sure,
energy,
go on
but
your
not bad.
So it's like, sure, you go for that loop thing, but, good luck getting back those 4,000 life points.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. Droll and Lockbird is interesting. I actually kind of want to talk about the advantages of Droll and Lockbird versus what's it called? Anti-Spell Fragrance. Like, Thunder King is very good against Prophecy. The issue with it is that, like, a Justice and a Power gets over it very easily. And if you've already got the setup in your graveyard, they can just Fate your ass. So, like, while Thunder King is pretty good against Prophecy,
it's not
they're just
answer. Ultimately.
Yeah.
It's not the end.
So, Droll and Lockbird versus Anti-Spell Fragrance. I've been thinking about this a lot because it's been a very popular thing to run in the OCG, because Droll and Lockbird has the distinct advantage of being able to be used on your first turn. If your opponent goes first, then you don't have to set it for the turn and wait for their next turn. So that's really helpful. There's the fact that Droll and Lockbird doesn't stop you from using spells. That's really helpful. My issue with it is that it only lasts for one turn. So if you only get one, it's like, okay, you can use, you can use that one judgment day, and then not search with it. But like you can do that just as well with anti-spell fragrance. Because if you activate that, they can't put that judgment day on the board until next turn.
Yeah.
But I guess the issue with anti-spell fragrance is you can't really run it if your deck really relies on spells.
Yeah, it's not too splashable.
It isn't particularly, like your deck could not, none of your decks could
None of the decks I use
Fire
can sustain
Fist
it.
would not do well with that card.
No.
Although, funny thing about Fire Fist, I believe if they set their Tenki from their deck with one of their monsters, and they can still activate it that turn with the anti-spell fragrance.
That's interesting.
So they could deal the damage with the bear, and then still use it. Well, let's see. I believe it says that then they can't activate it. Let's see. And cannot activate them until the next turn. So, I don't know. I'd have to look at that. But yeah, Fire Fist would not do so hot. Frog Monarchs would not do so hot with that. I mean, Prophecy can't do it for the mirror match, but that's why Droll and Lockbird is so popular.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any decks besides mine that can legitimately run it. I suppose like Geargia decks can.
Yeah.
Karakuri can't.
Salvodad.
Machina Mash can do it.
Better version of Salvodad.
Let's see. I thought of one. Oh, Mono Mermail probably could.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Oh god, Evil Swarm would die with that on the board because it's like, okay, give me an extra turn for you to use that Infestation Pandemic. That's fine. So that might be helpful, but pretty much, like, those are the cards you're going to have to use against Prophecy. If you can put in the macro is good, Thunder King is good, as long as you can protect it from like power and stuff like that. Thunder King is good.
A safe zone Naturia Beast is practically a win condition.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing that I've been seeing a lot of people playing is Magic Drain.
Magic Drain.
Magic Drain.
But Robert, that's a minus.
What are you talking about? That's Magic Jammer.
Oh.
Magic.
I thought I was being witty.
No, Magic Drain is if your opponent activates a spell card, you can activate it as a counter trap and it negates it. Or
they
can discard another spell from their hand.
Yeah.
Which on the one hand is kind of cool, but it gives them the option of discarding a useless spell card from their hand instead of negating.
Which
I think it would almost be more useful against a deck that really relies on like a single spell card at a time.
Not one that
but
can
they don't
just
run that many.
Flip them out of the graveyard back into their hand.
Yeah. But it is an interesting thought. One combination, the Watt family deck that actually won a New York regional or something like that, or got top 4 or something like that, actually ran 2 copies of the Anti-Spell Fragrance and then 2 copies of Magic Drain. Mm-hmm. So that you would hit them with the Anti-Spell Fragrance and then activate the Magic Drain, and even if they discarded a card, they couldn't get it back that turn. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, Magic Drain is another really popular one, and I'm sure that there are others out there if you guys think that there are any that I didn't talk about and should talk about.
Spell Canceller.
Spell Canceller for the Frog Monarch deck. Because...
No, it's too bad.
Like, if they put a Prophecy on the board, you'd kind of be fucked.
Yeah.
Or what's it called?
Anything with attack points.
Pretty much, yeah. Anything with attack points. Well, then, oh god, Carl's here. Anyway, but if you guys think that there are
things to get derailed.
Anyway, if you guys think that there's anything that I should have talked about, leave it in the comments. I will see you with another video later this week, and Carl's about to say something dumb.
I was hanging out with my brother last night.